So before we get into it, what is POTS? So POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Now I know that sounds like a mouthful, and it is. So let's break that down so it feels more doable. Postural, just think posture, no big deal there. Orthostatic. Now for orthostatic, I like to think of the static portion, which is, just think about how when things are staticky, they tend to stand up. Tachycardia, that's boom, boom, boom. That's a fast heart rate. And then we just have syndrome. So basically position-oriented tachycardia. That's what we got. A common misconception about POTS is that it is under the umbrella of cardiology. And although a cardiologist can treat you, it's actually neurological. And that's what makes it a little bit tricky because our chief complaint is that our heart rate is going too fast when we stand up. So one would immediately go to blame the heart, but it's actually a big miscommunication between our nerves. So what happens when an individual with POTS stands up, there's a mass miscommunication of our nerves. And what happens is our blood pools in our feet, which is pretty painful. And then our heart notices the blood's gone. So it's like, well, hey, let's go. Your heart starts working harder because it's trying to pump the blood back up to your brain. Again, it's neurological. So what it is it is a dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system. I know, another big word. When you hear autonomic, just think automatic. So everything your body naturally does. So that's anything from your heart rate to your blood pressure to body temperature, all the stuff we're not thinking about on a daily basis. It's a dysfunction of all that. So your automatic system has two modes, okay? We've got sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system, let's think of it as sympathetic. When we are sympathetic, we're feeling, we see our surroundings and we're adapting to them, right? So we're sympathizing with what's around us. That's your fight or flight. That's when we're about to fight a bear in the wilderness. That's when we're turning off the light at the bottom of the stairs and running for our life to our room. When you get startled, when you get scared, all of that jazz, that's when your body is sympathizing with your surroundings and it's paying attention. So then we have our parasympathetic nervous system. So para just means adjacent to. It's just like there's another guy alongside, if you will. They're neighbors. Gotta hydrate. Parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest. That is the sweet spot. That's exactly where we want to be. But people with POTS have a dysfunction of those systems. So it's really, really hard to be in rest and digest. There are multiple types of POTS. You could have neuropathic, hyperadrenergic, hypovolemic, or secondary. When I went to Mayo Clinic, they said neuropathic, hyperadrenergic, and you have hypovolemia, which is cool. And mine was brought on by the perfect storm of low ferritin and getting multiple colds back to back. So POTS is a result as a shock to the system. So your system doesn't just casually break on its own. There is some reason it's happened. There are people like me who have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which, tip of the iceberg, is a genetic connective tissue disorder. It makes us super bendy. We are going to be more predisposed to dysautonomia, which is the umbrella POTS is under, okay? The body is a sensitive entity, and there are a lot of things that can just shock it into POTS. I've seen Lyme's, mold toxicity, mono, COVID, traumatic brain injury. At the end of the day, there are a lot of different causes because every body is different, and so every body is going to be impacted by different stimuli in different ways. I will talk about the cause of my POTS in a different video. It is so hard not to go down side quests because everything is so interconnected. It's a mess. So what are the symptoms of having a dysregulated autonomic nervous system? We are exhausted, brain fog, nausea, overheating, freezing, blood pooling in feet, dizziness, lightheadedness, shortness of breath. Honestly, there's too many to list. Something that I will always find important to point out is that POTS can get swept under the rug quite a bit because it presents as anxiety, as it is mainly in women. And we show up to ERs and we say we're sick and we don't feel well. And they're like, we don't know what to do here. And then instead of saying, we're going to get to the bottom of this, they say, you should probably calm down. This is anxiety. One of the main diagnostic criteria for getting a POTS diagnosis is having an increase of 30 beats per minute or more upon standing. We don't feel great. So yeah, it might look like anxiety sometimes. So sorry. So what are the treatments for POTS? The number one thing is we need to sync up the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, and that can be done via working out. Again, check with your doctor, but a lot of doctors are going to prescribe the Chop and Levine protocol. There are PDFs online. It's a whole thing, very accessible. Gravity is really hard on us, so anything that we can be not standing is ideal. Your recumbent bike, swimming, rowing, something like Pilates, gotta recondition your system. And something that's really hard is all of our symptoms, all we want to do is lay down and we're exhausted all the time. The last thing we want to do is get up and do a workout, but it's the first thing we need to do. And it's the most important thing for us to do. As far as medications go, beta blockers are kind of the gold standard for treating POTS symptoms. Now, if you're high maintenance like moi, you can't take them because my blood pressure and heart rate are too low naturally. So that means for me, when I take those medications, I get incredibly ill. I can't leave bed. I'm sick as a dog. Every doctor is always just sure they're going to find a new medication, and that's never worked, and that's okay. You know, we all have our own battles, but it does make it a lot harder. You're going to want to invest in compression gear. Women specifically, we need a lot of compression around our abdomen, so look into a high-waisted legging perchance. Compression socks can help. Sometimes they hurt me more than they help me, honestly, but I have them in every color and every season. So sometimes they do really help though. So I just have to pay attention to my body of, is it a good day or not for these? As far as like diet goes, you got to pickle the body. You got to pickle the body. So you got to be drinking a lot of water. You got to increase your intake of water, but you also have to increase your electrolyte intake as well. If you're just drinking straight water, it's all going to go through you. And we actually want to retain the water. So we need salt to help us hold on to that. Yes, Gatorade is an obvious option, but that is high sugar to be drinking all the time. Okay, you don't want to do that. Salt stick makes great capsules. You can buy them on Amazon and they go down easily. A lot of salt pills get stuck in the throat and they burn and it's uncomfortable, but salt stick capsules go right down, not a problem. They also make chewables. Additionally, there are electrolytes you can put directly into your water, such as Liquid IV, Noon, Banana Bag, etc. Everybody's different, but a doctor will prescribe you with a specific salt intake to reach for the day. It was recommended to me that I use Himalayan pink salt or sea salt if I'm salting my food or anything, as they have more minerals apparently. I don't know. Okay, so in my mind, we've covered a lot, so I kind of want to like chill because this is a lot of information for one video. I hope this helped. I hope this was informative and that it makes sense. The next video is going to be my diagnosis story, so tune in.